Awesome. All right, so welcome to tonight's pre-prof presentation, health professions presentation. We have a three dental schools represented with us today, and we are really glad to be able to say this is the first time where we're doing a dental panel, and we are really trying to stay to our commitment of increasing resources and opportunities for our pre-dents, particularly here at Hopkins. We hope that if there are others that have joined from our surrounding community schools, our surrounding community of schools here in Maryland and DC, that you too find it as a beneficial experience. So without further ado, I just want to say what schools are represented, and I'll let each panelist introduce themselves. They talk about their institutions. We have University of Maryland School of Dentistry, Boston University School of Dental Medicine, and USC School of Dentistry as well. And so I'm just going to go ahead and pass the mic on to Corey and have him kick it off.
Thank you, Zori. And thanks for having us here to represent our schools. I'm going to share just a couple slides because I don't want to take up much time explaining a little bit more about our program. But I am Corey Berry. I'm with Herman Ostrow School of Dentistry in Los Angeles. Two of the main programs that I'm admission counselors for is our international program as well as our advanced programs. But I also am very present with our DDS program. So I'm here to guide you and assist you with your questions regarding your journey into possibly doing dentistry. My QR code for my LinkedIn is there. I think it's always good to network and continue. Did I hear something, Zuri?
I've just muted it.
Oh, okay. And so it's really important to just keep the lines of communication open. So I'm always open to share my LinkedIn. So feel free to take a QR code and follow me there for questions. And so yeah, like I said, I'm from Herman Ostrow School of Dentistry. Some of the things that I typically like to go over and talk about with our pre-dents when we do meet them is the application process. Points that we believe are important to highlight and address in your ADSAS application when the time comes. We also like to talk about how our review process is because it is much different or slightly different than other schools, but we're really looking for the same types of students, which are well-rounded students. The dental school interview, which a lot of times is different from other schools. So I talk about these things to basically prepare you to what things to think about ahead of the application cycle, and if you were ever invited to an interview. Also, I wanted to talk to you about some of our key things that we look at. These are just some of our academic markers from our most recent class. Their average GPA came in at 3.76. Their average science GPA came in at 3.7. For DAT, academic average for this class was 21. The science average was 21 as well, and the PAT average was 20. So we have a range of academic markers that from students that get into the program, but these are the averages. You don't have to be there to have an opportunity to get into the program, but this just gives you an idea of what most students had when they applied. Also, I think it's always important, most schools, we generally have the same requirements. These are our requirements. And of course, I'll be happy to talk to you all about them after if you have questions, but you want to have the 1 year of general bio with lab, 1 year of Gen Chem with lab, 1 year of OChem with lab, general physics with lab, and philosophy, history, or fine arts, and then 1 year of English composition. However, we waive those two requirements if you are in line with getting your degree, your bachelor's degree. And again, 1 year for us equals two semesters or 3 quarters. So that's about 8 to 10 units. I also wanted to highlight quickly what our curriculum is like. What you see in front of you is what we call PBL. It's part of our curriculum, and it stands for problem-based learning. And in short, it's really case-based learning in small groups. As you can see, there's a group of 8 to 9 students, and their facilitator sits at the head of the table. And what they do is they brainstorm together how to resolve issues with patients, whether it's medically related issues or dental related. It could be anything. And these are old cases that we use over and over to teach our new classes. And really, it helps build your critical thinking and problem solving skills. Also, another thing we look for in our students is collaboration skills, team building skills. So you want to highlight those things and work on those types of skills as you're, approaching your senior year. What to include in your application? These are just some simple things that I thought would be important for you all to know. Of course, your official transcripts from all colleges and universities that you've attended. All of this information is verified by ADSAS. And of course, I think another thing that's very, very important is your letter or are your letters of recommendation. So we require 2 letters from lecture-based science professors or instructors from biochem or physics, or 1 committee letter would take care of those. And also we would like to see a letter from a dentist that you've worked with that you may have shadowed or you may have been a dental assistant for. So those are what we really highlight when we review your application. And so yeah, I just wanted to go over some brief things with you, and I will pass it off to Andrea. I think you're going to be next.
All right. Hi, guys. I hope everyone is doing well. It is good to see my colleagues again. I just saw Corey 3 days ago in Atlanta, so it's good to see you. I'm just going to share my screen, which is our QR code. All right, there we go. Can everybody see that? I think I'm in Baltimore, right? So we have the benefit of being able to connect with you, you know, quick, no, not quickly, but in many different ways, just because we have some summer tours coming up, and it would be easy for you, if you're on campus this summer, to get to us. So I will share some things, very much similar to what Corey presented for USC. The biggest difference is that we're a public school, right? So we're the only dental school in Maryland. Some of you may know that we are the very first dental college in the world, so that's a pretty big thing for us to hang our hat on. But although that was, and I'm an alum of University of Maryland School of Dentistry. I'm originally from Michigan, but when I came to Maryland for my interview, there was something about the campus that kind of intrigued me. I think that one of the things that is very different from Johns Hopkins is that we're an urban campus. So we have far less grass than you guys have over on the other side of Baltimore. However, what that allows us to do is, because of where we sit downtown, the patients that we get to serve is a pretty unique experience, and I'll get into that in a second. So like I said, we are the only dental school in Maryland, which is great for you in terms of patient experiences. Our class size is about 130 students. We do take a fair amount of non-residents. So we have about 50% in-state and 50% out-of-state. So I like to say we're a very non-resident friendly school. I mentioned the urban setting. All the schools downtown that surround the dental school are all graduate programs. So there's only 2 bachelor's programs. One's the bachelor's in nursing in the nursing school, and then we have a bachelor's in dental hygiene in our school, but everybody else is a grad student. So it's law, social work, medicine, pharmacy, the graduate school that has different things, but we're all downtown right together. The one other thing that we have similar to what they have at USC is we have all the specialties in the school. The only ones we don't have are dental radiology and oral pathology as a traditional specialty in the school. We have a GPR program that has a very intense look into oral pathology, but we don't have an oral pathology program set up right now. And we don't have dental public health. We do have the ability for you to do a public health master's in cohort with the medical school, but how that would work for you is you would actually come to us, spend 2 years doing your dental work, take a gap year, do the coursework for your MPH program, and then come back to the dental school, and in your 3rd and 4th year, finish up your dental requirements, finish up your MPH capstone, and then leave with both degrees when you are done. In terms of pre-dental experiences, we actually do require that you shadow 100 hours. It doesn't have to be with one dentist, but it should be with a dentist. We actually want you to shadow. I highly recommend that you shadow with a general practitioner. I think that because the 3rd and 4th year rather are full of general dentistry experiences, in order for you to graduate, to understand what happens in a general practice office is really very important. So yes, shadow other specialties if that's what you're interested in, but 100 hours of shadowing with a dentist is something that we highly recommend. And we also recommend a letter of recommendation from a dentist. So sometimes I'll get the question of, well, I didn't shadow one dentist for 100 hours. And what I say to students is that's perfectly fine. But for the one dentist that you shadowed the most, where you actually interacted with the staff the most and had the most robust experience, ask that practitioner to write you a letter. When it comes to putting together your application, I think the one thing that I always say is that your application should reflect what you're interested in, right? So the only thing dental that I want to see, or the admissions team wants to see, is this shadowing, right? And shadowing isn't because we have a number that we want you to check off. I always say that shadowing is for you and not for me. I think that when you've shadowed a dentist and you understand what dentistry is about, two things happen. You get really excited about the profession that you're about to enter and be a part of. But also when it's at first year and you're up late studying for that microbiology exam and you're like, why am I doing this? You can reflect on that experience in an office and remember how much fun it was that you saw, the kind of what you felt inside, and it gives you that spark to kind of keep studying. So just remember that. In terms of our academic averages, they are very similar to what USC presented. So for total GPA, it was a 3.7 for our D1 class, and for academic average, it was a 21. I didn't break out the science DAT score. What I say is that the closer you are to those numbers, the better your chances. There are no cutoffs. So if the averages are 3.7, some people were above that and some people were below that. So just remember that the closer you are to the averages, the better your application will be. But we do a very holistic review. We look at everything that you've done, everything that you've put into your application, so that we can understand who you are. So just remember that as you put together your application. The one question I think all of us would on the panel would say that we get is, the student says, what would make a great applicant for, and they insert the school. And what I say is, you need to be authentically you. Every applicant is different. And so what we're trying to do is create a class that's going to really reflect just, for us, like the population in this area. So we look at everything. I have 2 children, so I always use this as an example. One ran track and one played soccer. If their applications were full of their dental experiences like I wanted, but then my soccer player put on there that he, coached soccer for little kids for his entire undergrad career. Well, for me, that shows that he gave of himself. That shows that if you do something that you really enjoy, you're going to do a lot of it. It's going to be a very robust experience for you. And that's giving of yourself, right? So there's no perfect formula for what that looks like. I just say do the things and work in the communities that are the most important for you. And when you do that, and then you go to your interview, you have something to draw on. You have something to really kind of talk about. This year when I did interviews and students were telling me about times they like worked in like the children's hospital as a buddy to a young person that didn't have a family member, present. I mean, their face lit up, their whole persona lit up. And so it was really good to see that this young person had given of themselves, gone and done this experience for, months, and how much it meant to them. So really remember that as you kind of put together your application. The prereqs that we have at Maryland are the same as what you saw well, they're very similar to what you saw for USC, except we have biochem, which brings me to my next point of ADEA has a great website, right? And I tell students all the time, figure out all the schools you want to apply to, and put them down one side with an Excel spreadsheet, and then across the top list all the classes that you may that the basic sciences and some of the other prereqs, and then just make sure you check them off. So USC wanted you to have fine arts and philosophy. Maryland doesn't actually ask for that. We recommend that you take those classes, but they're not requirements. So just make sure that you understand that as you are looking at your program. For us, when I talk about the dental curriculum, the first year is very foundational. So it's all basic sciences in preparation for you to get ready for some other sciences in your second year. But there are some dental classes, obviously, that we expose you to. So operative dentistry, dental anatomy are things that you actually do in that first year, but it's very, very foundational. Then in the second year, you're doing some more clinical sciences. So all of a sudden you're taking pharmacology, and because of what you've learned in physiology and gross anatomy, you're able to understand how drugs interact in the system. And then you're doing a lot more lab work, but you're still in the preclinical phases of your career. And then toward the end of that second year, we're introducing you into the clinic a lot more with patient experiences. The third year is about 75% clinical and 25% academic. And so you're in clinic, you're treating patients. We have a comprehensive care model. So you get Mrs. Jones in as your patient, and you treat all of Mrs. Jones's needs, and then you do a final exam on her, and then you release her. But because you're actually working in what we call a general practice clinic, which is like a small practice clinic, you're able to work as a team. So you have, sometimes there's a D3 and a D4 that are paired together. Well, they're always paired together, but sometimes both of them will try to work with your patients to expedite the care and to get them through. In the fourth year, it's about 90% clinic. There's some didactic classes that you need to take, some competencies that we need you to fulfill that are, some are computer-based, some are hands-on, but you're pretty much always in clinic. But there are some electives that you can take in your D4 year that allow you to explore different areas of dentistry. And we also have some clerkships. So if you're really interested in, let's say, pedo, and you want to explore a pediatric dentistry career potentially after you graduate, there's a pediatric clerkship that you can do, and you do that 2 or 3 clinic sessions a week, so you get a little bit more exposure to the pediatric clinic and pediatric dental care, so you get to see that. The only other thing that I would add to this is that we do have, like I mentioned earlier, because we're so close, we're right down the street. If you scan the QR code, it will allow us to keep in contact with you. We do have dental tours that we have in the summer. I think we have one a month, like one in June, one in July, one in August. We have a virtual Q&A, but anybody can do that. But we also have a summer program called Dentistry Today, which is a 2-day program that gives you exposure to us as an institution. I always tell the students that it's a way for you to interview us, as well as us to get to know you a little bit better. So by scanning the QR code, you'll keep in touch with us, and we will be able to keep in touch with you and let you know about other programs that are available. So with that, I think I've covered everything I needed to say. I have. So I will turn it over to my friend Joshua.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Swanson. I am the DMD admissions manager here at Boston University, Henry M. Goldman School of Dental Medicine. We are located right in the South End neighborhood of downtown Boston. We see 115 students into our 4-year DMD program every year. And right now, I just want to share a few slides to show you what we require for admission into the program. Bear with me 1 minute. Okay. So these are the requirements for applying to our DMD program. Completion or be in the process of completing the prereq courses, which I'll show in the next slide. You have to complete or be in the process of completing of a bachelor's program at an accredited university in either the United States or up in Canada. We do require the DAT. If you take the DAT more than once, we will only review the most recent set of scores. We do require 3 letters of recommendation. 2 must be from science professors who taught you in a traditional classroom setting. However, if your school has a pre-health committee, that 1 letter from the pre-health committee will fulfill the letter of recommendation requirement. Obviously, you do have to complete the ADSES application. And if you're in a master's or postdoc program, you will be required to complete it before matriculating into the DMD program. And these are the prereq courses. We do require 3 courses of biology with lab, 2 courses of general inorganic chemistry with lab, 2 courses of organic chemistry with lab, 2 courses of physics with lab, and 1 course of biochemistry. And besides that, starting this year, we do require 2 upper-level science courses, the topic being of your choice, but has to be from one of the previous subject matters. All prereq courses must be taken in person for an actual grade. We do not accept pass-fail grades or online coursework. Community college courses are allowed, provided that you take upper-level courses in the same field, and you may apply before completing the prereq requirements. If the course has a lab, you must take it. Conversely, we do see this once in a while these days. If an introduction course does not have a lab and you can document that, we will not hold it against you. Now, a few things too about applying for the DMD program here at BU. One thing is most people we interview under the old DAT scoring system, most people score about a 19 or 20 on the previous DAT scoring system. I'm sure, as you all know, they literally just changed the scoring system, which we are all learning. And so next year at this time, I'm sure I'll be able to tell you what the new DAT averages under the new 3-digit scoring system. For GAPs, most people we interview have about at least a 3.3 or better science GPA and about a 3.4 or better overall GPA. This is the interview process. Interviews these days here at BU are done online by way of Zoom. Interviews are done on a one-on-one format with a member of the admission committee. Because everything's online, a lot of our applicants, for very obvious reasons, do want to see our campus. You know, Down School is a 4-year commitment and a big financial investment. So about one Sunday a month between September and March, we have visit days where if you've been notified that we will be interviewing you, you get to come and visit our campus. You tour the school, meet me and my colleagues, and you can meet with some current students. And the tour, by the way, is given by current students. Besides that, we have what's called the Admission Ambassador Chat, where you can meet online by way of Zoom with 1 or 2 current students to learn about student life here at GSDM. We have the Student Affairs Chat, where you can meet online with members of our Student Affairs team. And finally, we have our Financial Services session. You can meet online with members of our Student Financial Services team to learn about paying for your dental education, as well as tips for finding housing here in Boston, which I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Finding housing here in Boston is very challenging. I myself have been a renter in the greater Boston area for over 20 years, and housing is always something that's a little challenging to come by. But that being said, our students do find housing, and about, I'll say, you know, between 70 and 80% of our 4-year DMD students do live within a 20 minutes walk of our campus. A few of the things that make us stand out, like I said, we're right in downtown Boston, great historic city to be in, great arts and culture scene. And if you love sports, well, we are one of the sports capitals of America. One thing that makes our dental school stand out is, first of all, we pride ourselves in research. We have numerous great researching opportunities here at GSDM, but if you want to apply to us, don't sweat it if you have no research experience. I'll say probably less than a third of our successful successful applicants have some form of research experience when they apply to the DMD program. We do have a very diverse patient population here. Our clinic, like I said, we're right in downtown Boston. Boston's a very diverse city. And I'll say that about one out of every 4 residents of Boston is either an immigrant or a child of immigrants. So you actually get to hear many different languages spoken on our campus every day. We also have numerous postdoctoral programs. And one thing that we pride ourselves on is if you matriculate into our DMD program, you actually will be exposed to most of the specialty programs we have here. And while the numbers change year to year, I will say in the 12 years I've been here, on average, about half of our graduating student body will go on to a specialty. Like I said, the numbers change year to year, but I've seen the long-term numbers, and about half will go into a specialty. And I myself have been treated in the endodontic clinic upstairs. About a couple of years ago, I cracked a tooth. I had it treated upstairs. I felt totally fine up there. And also too, my roommate is actually a regular in the pre-doctoral clinic. So he's been treated by the pre-doctoral students on a pretty regular basis for the past couple of years. And that's really about it. I know I'm limited with time, so hopefully I got to share some basic information, who we are and what we're about. And I'll throw the floor back to our generous host.
Awesome. We did excellent on time. So I think we have plenty of time to answer questions from the participants, as well as some of the things that we have a couple of pre-health advisors on here too, and we hear frequently asked questions, so we can also toss those in just for info. So thank you all for giving everyone a sense of your program specific details. We already have a question in the chat regarding AP credits around inorganic chemistry. Obviously, this is dependent upon each institution, and we know that with AP credits, it could vary whether they are accepted. So any details on or advice even in general about AP credits would be helpful.
In general, I'll just say for our school, for one, we do not accept the AP. But of course, you want to check with every school that you plan to apply to or that you're interested in, as we all have different policy regarding APs.
And Boston University, we don't take AP credit either. What we usually tell our applicants who have AP, so say you got AP in general chemistry, you can take an upper level course. You can either retake general chemistry, or, as I like to say, even better, maybe challenge yourself by taking an upper level general inorganic chemistry course, with like physical chemistry being an example of such.
I think at Maryland, I'm going to agree with my colleagues that we don't take AP credits. And the reason that I tell students that they want to retake those basic requirements is that when you go to take the DAT, you want that information to be as fresh as possible. So when you take it as an AP course and you transfer it over from high school, there's a really good chance that there's some information that you may have forgotten. So in order to prepare for the DAT and to do well on the DAT, I highly recommend that you retake that course in undergrad. And if it's, if you got AP credits from high school, then should be, and hopefully is, just an easy A or high grade that you can put on your transcript.
My question is like kind of like more like since I am applying this cycle, and if I need to retake the inorganic chemistry, probably like general inorganic chemistry, I probably need to take it like after I do the application. Is it like I kind of need to take inorganic chem 1 and then take Chem 2 next semester and take one lab with it, or just taking one actual inorganic chemistry course for a semester is enough?
So I'm going to take a stab at this. If I understand you, how many credit hours do you have currently of inorganic chemistry, or is it organic?
I already finished taking 2 semester of organic chemistry and the lab, but
Okay.
inorganic chemistry, because I just transfer credit from AP, I haven't taken any of it.
Oh, I see. So for us, you can actually apply and still have some of your prerequisites outstanding. You can't have more than 2 outstanding, but you can have some outstanding. So, I would say to you that I would take, inorganic chemistry, so that you would have it for and I'm sorry if I'm missing if it's organic or inorganic. I think it's inorganic. I would take inorganic chemistry as soon as you possibly could, and then you could actually take the other inorganic chemistry in the second semester, and then you definitely would need a lab with that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, so I need 2 semesters of inorganic chemistry, and I can only take it in my senior year. So that's what I worry about. If I can just apply without it, I'm going to be fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Same with us. You can be in progress. As long as everything is complete, if you're accepted to the program, you have to be complete with all of your prerequisites, or your offer could be rescinded. So you just have to be careful with that, making sure you're finishing them on time. Some of our students are still taking prerequisites in the summer, finishing them up. So it's not unheard of.
And Boston University, pretty much the same thing. We're totally fine with you applying before you complete the prereqs. And same thing too, if you get admitted and you need to take a quick summer course to finish the prereq requirements, we're totally fine with that. It's just so proof that you completed the course by the time you arrive for matriculation.
Awesome. Before I go back to the chat, did anybody want to unmute and ask any question? And then I think I see some more in the chat.
And Zori,
Yeah.
can I ask something?
Yeah.
You know what? Because here, I think we just have such a better connection. I don't know if people are driving or what have you, but I just think it's best. Part of the process and advice that I always give students coming up to apply to dental school is, you want to be seen in as many ways as possible. So if possible, I would recommend, when you're asking your question, especially, to try to turn on your camera. We would love to see you.
Awesome.
And
Thank
actually,
you.
just go further on that. Like I said earlier, Boston University, we do all of our interviews online. And if you don't have a face, your interviewer is probably going to write up "do not admit." And I actually have seen it happen several times since we started doing online interviews in 2020.
I think that's helpful and great for applicants to know about the importance of not just showing up, but also being an active participant. Okay, so we'll go to the chat while others maybe find a spot to do so if they have questions. But research experience comes up. Is it required or preferred in the application process?
So I get this question a lot because BU, we pride ourselves with research. And, this is what I tell people. Like I was just saying in the presentation, only about a third of our successful applicants have any form of research done. So if you have no research, but the rest of your application is strong, still apply, because you're only, depriving yourself. So don't sweat it for our school if you have no research experience. Now, that said, if you have a lot of research, you want to do a lot of research, make sure you talk about in your application to us so we know that you are very interested in doing research once you arrive here. And here at BU, we actually do have numerous opportunities to do research during the course of the program. And some of our most successful researchers were people who didn't do a single hour of research during their undergraduate career.
So I'll just add on to what Joshua said. I think that research is something that if you've done it in undergrad because you liked it, then put it on your application. If you think you're going to check a box and we're going to be like, oh, at Maryland, oh yeah, they did research, it's not mandatory, right? Your application should reflect what you're passionate about. Yes, I know I say that, but there's got to be some dentistry on there, which is what you're passionate about because you're applying to dental school, but it's not a requirement. Now, having said that, we do have a summer research program where some students will come early to Baltimore to do research. It's a 6 or 8 week program. It's funded, so there's that enticement to actually do it. And some students have started doing the summer research program, and then they carried on with that research mentor all the way through. So they may not have loved it in undergrad, but they found a project that they really liked or an area that they really liked and continued on with it. I think one of the things that I always say is that when you come to dental school, when you find the thing that really like excites you, it actually helps to ground you too. So I had a colleague that used to always say, when you have a really big tree and it has really long roots, if a storm comes and tries to knock it down, it won't knock it down. That really big tree with really long roots is you coming to dental school and finding something that you're passionate about and really getting involved in it. So when things come, as they will in school, because it's hard, and it tries to knock you down, you have that to ground you. And sometimes that is your being involved with your research mentor. Sometimes it's research because you didn't realize you liked it. And sometimes people think it's only bench type research, but there are some qualitative type research projects as well that people can get involved in at Maryland.
Yeah, and I agree with my colleagues. Research is something that's not required, but we look favorably upon it if any of our applicants have it. Some of our applicants, I know when I talk to them ahead of even applying, they've been doing research since high school as passion projects or something. So they'll continue doing research. So I think, yeah, I agree that if you're passionate about it and you really, really want to do something in that, realm, do it. But if you're just wanting to check a box, I wouldn't recommend it because you want to spend your time doing things that are going to be benefiting you, such as shadowing or volunteering, community service, etc. So you have to, I think, package yourself what best suits you and not what you think, the school wants to see. And as Dr. Morgan said, we also do a holistic review of your application. So highlighting these things about yourself are equally as important, but does not have to be research.
Awesome. I guess this is just like somewhat off of the AP, since you've already addressed the AP. When it comes to community college courses, is the advice to take upper level courses in the same field is taking, so accepting community college credits, and then I guess advice if there are other courses they should consider if they were like, we do get quite a bit of few transfers who often take some of those prereqs at the county college. So just advice on that.
So for community college credit, what we tell people here at BU is that we understand that sometimes you might have to take some coursework at your local community college. So instead of just simply, say if you did Bio 1 and 2 at your community college, then you transferred to wherever, instead of just simply retaking Bio 1 and 2, take a couple upper level courses in that same field. So in this case, it would be biology. So you do like say anatomy and physiology or cell biology or genetics or evolution. There's a whole long list of upper level courses you can take. And a lot of times, since, probably about 90% of our applicants are science majors, even if they start out as a community college, they usually have taken enough upper level courses by the time they apply or be in the process of taking by the time they apply that it's usually a moot issue for us. But every so often it does come up, and we tell people, oh, you did physics 1 and 2 at your community college. You just have to retake it during the application period at a 4-year school.
So we accept community college credits for students. But I always tell students that the rigor of that discipline is going to be different at a 4-year college. So like my colleague said, to take an upper level like biology class or chemistry class would be helpful. But for physics and for English, I'm not going to say that we're going to look to see if you've taken an upper level class in that. But since there's a lot of prereqs that are going to be upper level biology classes or recommended coursework, we might do that. I think sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge for our students because we have not a lot, I shouldn't say that. We have, I'd say a third of our students are non-biology majors. Some of them are engineering or business. And so they've taken the classes that they needed for their major. But I always highly recommend to those students that they take upper level the recommended science classes because it just helps to ease the transition into dental school. I always give the example. I was a psychology major, and it was great because I love psychology. It allowed me to explore that field because I was really interested in that. However, when I got to dental school and I was in gross anatomy and they started to talk about gross anatomy terms that I had never heard before, I was devastated, right? Not devastated, but I was really kind of worried. And this is before, you could just go on the internet and plug in a word. But I think it would really help your transition if you were to take upper level science classes along with those basic sciences, just to kind of ease your transition in, so that when you're in the first year of school and you're hearing all of those all that terminology, it's easier for you to learn, to hear it, and to understand how to study better for that discipline.
Hi, my name is Zuhan. I just have some question kind of like relate to the research experience. If I talk too much about my research experience and my passion in it, will it kind of like hurt my application to dental? Because it sounds like if you are into research, you should do PhD.
Well, and what reason do you say if you talk too much? Do you have a lot? Like I'm assuming you have a lot of research backgrounds. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't think there's such a thing as talking too much about your experience and your background. Bragging about yourself in a good way and highlighting your strengths, things that you can bring to not only the school that you're applying to, but to the field. Research is very important. So I don't think, I mean, in my viewpoint, I don't know about the others, but I don't think there's such a thing as talking too much about it. You do want to highlight all of your strengths. And if that means that you're going to be talking a lot about research, be reasonable. You want to balance your application and talk about your other experiences as well, such as community service, volunteering, dental assisting, shadowing, organizations that you may belong to, clubs that you may have started. So you want to find a balance. So I hope that answers your question. But like I said, I think talking about not hiding or not, limiting yourself, you don't want to do that. You want us to know these strengths of yours.
Yeah, and I would agree and echo. I think there's some skills that you learn while doing research that are going to be important for dentistry, right? Critical thinking, problem solving. Some of the, if you're doing bench type research, some of the hand skills are incredibly transferable. So talking about your research and your passion around it, right, is important. But then also kind of extrapolating from that, some of the skills that you've learned while doing research are things that I would also highlight in your application or personal statement, or when you do your interview, so that the committee will know a little bit more about you in that way.
And I have to admit, my two colleagues said it just right. I really have nothing else to add, because B is pretty much in total agreement.
Okay, thank you. Just wondering, because when I try to write my personal statement, if I fit in all my outdoor activity, all the volunteer I have ever done, there's no way I'm going to fit it in. So how can I like reflect in some other way that I have attend like maybe outdoor club, theater club, whatever club, like those things?
So the AdSense application is going to give you a whole opportunity to list all of that. So it doesn't have to be in your personal statement. So there'll be a whole section of volunteerism, so a whole section on extracurricular activities, whole section on research, whole section on dental experience. So you actually will still be able to list all of that in the AdSense application, and whoever reads the application at the schools you apply to, they'll be able to see that.
Yeah, and I just suggest, this is where balance comes in again. You will have opportunity in those sections to list, all of those details, but your personal statement isn't necessarily for listing details. We want it to be personal, like a narrative. We want to know more about you, not just, okay, I did A through Z. That's reserved for those other sections that Joshua was telling you about. But you want to tell us more about you. This is your opportunity to let us know why you're so passionate about dentistry, what your future goals are. You can connect some of those strengths like or skills such as research in your personal statement by saying, you know what, because of the research I've done, this has prompted me to look further into dentistry. These are some of the things that I'm passionate about doing as a dentist. So, make it your own story without sounding like a resume. And you can, like I said, list those other accomplishments in the other sections.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if there's any other questions. We super encourage students to make sure that they make appointments with pre-prof. And we can support you through personal statement reviews. Those are coming up, as well as drop-ins that can answer some of those questions that are very, I would say, applicant specific, in helping you communicate your experiences throughout your applications. I guess in the time we have left, do we have any other questions about specific admissions review, interviewing with the school? They've kind of mentioned those, and or certain aspects of fit. We know we stress a lot with students about what it means to consider fit when applying, and what that means in terms of the things you have passion projects for or have passion for, and things like that. So do you have any question about the school's uniqueness in what they look for in their applicants?
I actually, sorry, just have a more general question, if that's okay, not necessarily specific to that. Hi, I'm Davina. Sorry, I couldn't put my camera on. I'm driving, but Zori and I work together at Hopkins, and thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to be with us tonight. Hopefully not too many people on this call are encountering this, but we do counsel students on institutional actions and things of that nature from both the academic and behavioral standpoint. So if you could just generally speak about how your school views that, or how applicants can help themselves in that regard when they have to report an institutional action. Thank you.
I'll go first. So the first thing I have to tell people is just be honest. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We're all 18 at one time. So, you're going to have to, you should just, be an adult and own up to it. And not only that, and then, and I'm sure that my colleagues' schools have similar policies. We here at BU, we both require a criminal background check and what we call a dean certification form, which is very school to school, but usually the dean of students office, they fill out a form and just say, yep, the student was totally fine, or maybe the student was on academic probation, or the student was caught underage drinking, and then we match it with what they self-reported. And so let's just say that you're on academic probation, or there was an underage drinking episode, and you already self-reported the ADSAS application. It comes on the dean's form. We check it, we match it. Like, okay, the student's an adult. He or she is owning up to mistakes in the past. But if it doesn't add up, that's when things get interesting. And yes, I have seen students' admission rescinded over the years. Doesn't happen too often, but it has happened where they tried to bury some incident in their past, and it came out either in the dean's form or the criminal background check. So, like I said, we're all human. We all make mistakes. So you just got to own up to it. Being a dentist is a very mature profession, and owning up to past mistakes is a huge mature step.
So, Marilyn, I'm gonna agree with what Joshua said in terms of just owning up to it. We don't do a criminal background check on our campus, so it wouldn't necessarily come up that way. But if there's something that you've done, if you've been on academic probation, when there are times there's a spot on your ADSAS application where you can talk about academic disruption or something to that effect. Just talk about it, right? Like Joshua said, everybody's on this call is an adult. Nobody's perfect, right? So just add up on up to that. And also the transition from from high school into undergrad is sometimes pretty hard, right? So the first couple of years may not have gone as well as you wanted it to go. And so what you want to do is talk about the disruption that occurred, but then talk about how you grew from it, what you learned from it, how it actually allowed you to become a better studier, or learn your study style, or you did something and you did community service, and how that allowed you to grow. So I think a lot of times if you take something that was a disruption and you reflect on it and understand how you grew from that disruption, then that's what we're looking for, is somebody that's actually going to be maturing. Because I think we all, as we go through life, are always maturing, always looking to get better. So I would just say own up to it and just write about it.
Yeah, I agree. Short and sweet, I agree with that. Just being honest and open about whatever the situation is. And give yourself the opportunity to tell us, like Dr. Morgan said, what you've learned from it. I think that's key when you're filling out that question and you're addressing the whatever the situation is. We've had every situation you could think of. We also do a background check. So if something comes up and you weren't honest about it, we could possibly rescind your offer. Doesn't happen often. I've seen some cases where the students think, oh, I'm not going to have a chance. But guess what? We looked into it. The committee talks about it. Everyone makes mistakes. So, like I said, you can't go back, but you can go forward. And that's what you should do when you're addressing these things. You just have to really be honest and adult about it.
That's really helpful. Thank you for those. Before we get to the top of the hour, I just wanted to quickly ask about manual dexterity. We get a lot of questions about if this should be shown in the form of something very official like training or a class, or or preferred, I should say, or if their hobbies or other artistic endeavors and stuff can be good examples of how they've developed that.
Really quickly from me, for us, we just like to see the artistic qualities. There's not anything specific we're looking for, whether you play guitar, you sew, you draw, play a musical instrument like violin. Even if you're a barber, I mean, you want to talk about those things. Crocheting, all types of artistic things like that. I wouldn't go too deep into that or overthink it. That is, if you have a talent or a hobby or a special skill, that's what you want to let us know about your manual dexterity.
I completely agree with Corey, and I teach dental anatomy, so I just want people to understand what teeth look like. And a lot of times, what I'll say to students is, it really, like, the person that can draw, sometimes catches on a little bit quicker, but everybody can learn this. It's really just a willingness to understand how to approach it. And so I was not very artistic when I went to dental school, so I was a little bit stressed, but I am a dentist, therefore, and I teach dental anatomy, so it can be done. But I think the one thing that you can do for yourself is that if you don't think you're artistic, maybe take a drawing class. And this is where in undergrad, taking the classes that you really like is important. Taking a class on a pottery class or something that, that's going to help, but may just kind of lead you to kind of using your hands a little bit more will be helpful. But I think it's really about understanding that if you come in with that and you're not very artistic, that may be a small deficit, but that does not mean that you cannot be a dentist.
And my colleague said pretty much perfectly. I don't really have much to add on, but I've seen some cool stuff over the years. Sometimes some applicants will submit art portfolios. I remember one year back when we were doing in-person interviews, we actually had an applicant come in with pencils he made at home. He lived in a rural area up in Canada, and a hobby he picked up was making pencils. And just to prove it really was him, he actually also brought, he showed on his, I think it was his iPad, that he showed like videos of him making the pencils. So it can be a lot of different things that you can put down for manual dexterity.
Awesome. Okay. I just answered some questions in the chat about committee letter. We haven't gotten any complaints, so we're glad. We will make sure we continue to submit those in time for student applicants to be complete. And we also do an application guide that kind of answers some of those logistical questions about number of activities and stuff. So we appreciate all of you for being here and giving our pre-dent community an opportunity to hear specifically from schools of interest. We continue to hope that we can offer these kinds of platforms to increase engagement and understanding of the admissions process for pre-dental students. Any last thoughts for any of you three?
I just want to thank you for having us. I think this is it was a really unique format. And I kind of thought, three of us in an hour, how's that going to work? But I think it was perfect. So Corey and Joshua, thank you both for being on. I think it's always great. And like I said, I just saw Corey 3 days ago in Atlanta. So and I saw him 2 weeks before that or in Adidas.
Yes.
So we've been together a lot. But I want to say to the students that the one thing that I think we would all agree on is that, yes, we represent 3 different schools. However, our goal is to increase the number of dentists. So your job is to find that school where you're going to be the happiest, right? So you heard from 3 different programs, and I love the fact that we were all on. So there's some things that we do exactly the same. There's some things that we do that we do differently. But your job really in this whole process is to find the school where you're going to be the most comfortable. And sometimes that's not the most obvious choice. Like I would have never thought coming from Michigan, where I was already in a school at Michigan, that I would have, ended up going to Maryland. But I loved Maryland, right? So go visit, spend time. The fact that everybody has like the ability for you to come see the school, I think is really important. But your job as a pre-dent is to really utilize your pre-health advisors, because I think those people are key to your experience with Hopkins, but then come visit us so that we can increase the number of dentists that are populating the US. So with that, I will say thank you for having me.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
And
Absolutely.
thank you. And this was a great format. I like the fact that we had 3 different dental schools here because, like Dr. Morgan said, there's a lot of overlap, but there's also some differences. So my advice for all of you is, whenever when the day comes for you to apply to dental school, write down the schools you're going to apply to and research each one, because we're all going to be a little bit different. So make sure you get all your eggs in the correct baskets for when you apply.
Mhm. Love it. Thank you. We hope you have a great rest of your evening, no matter what coast you're on. I'm jealous that California has better weather than us right now. We're coming to the warmness. Hope all you have a great rest of your evening and week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.